Welcome back to the Wolf AoE 4 Grand Finals, the second game between Fight to the Death and Monsieur Gamgee. Spawning on the right side of the map, Fight to the Death once again as the HRE, and his opponent, also HRE, spawning on the left side of the map. This is Mountain Pass and a HRE v HRE matchup, which is going to be very, very interesting. When you are in HRE versus HRE, Burgrave Palace is a amazing feature here. Both people could go Cathedral. Both people could go Cathedral. But if one person goes Burgrave, executes it right, someone else goes Cathedral, Burgrave's going to overrun you. So we're going to see how these players can control their fast castle.
Indeed. Both players opening up that double scout. No doubt making sure they secure as much sheep as possible, as sheep will determine how quickly the HRE player will have to transition into farms, which can make or break any of these engagements coming in. Though this map, as you mentioned, is one of the most defensible nightmares to deal with. It looks like, though, there is a nice even spawn. The relic's a little bit in favor over here for Fight to the Death, as currently a wall puts this relic on the front lines, while the relics for Fight to the Death are a little bit more on the back foot.
That's a very good point. Fight to the Death does have a very aggressive mining camp placement a little bit further away from the TC, but both players know here Feudal Age aggression just isn't going to accomplish anything. It has to be a fast castle.
Indeed, and no doubt we will see that from both players as both of them take a look at advantage. Now I have a feeling that we're going to see double Burgraves, but I could be wrong. Both players here like to be on the aggressive side. I
am so excited for double Burgrave. The question is, what do you build if you get into the double Burgrave? I think it's Lanchnecks.
Lanchnecks are the answer, as they would win any of the engagements. Looks like some of the sheep, I'm not sure. We will see how many sheep here. We got 4 sheep, 5 sheep from there. Currently, it looks like the sheep count is fairly even overall. Not particularly going in either favor.
Both players very aggressively scouting. That learning from last match, sheep is the lifeblood of an HRE fast castle. You need enough of it. At the same time, very unlikely that there will be any pressure from these players until someone gets to castle. And I swear, if they just go feudal and we're both wrong, but I heavily doubt it. The HRE are the best fast castlers in Age of Empires 4. There's no one who does it better. And let's see who's going to go first heading into the feudal. It looks like Fight to the Death is the first. Look at that Aachen Chapel!
That is a bit of a disgusting placement, if I have to say so, over there. There could be a similar one if over here, if Gamgee wants to do it, but it looks like it's going to be a bit more Menwork Palace.
Oh my god, he's going to Minework Palace? I gotta say, we might be wrong. Is this feudal aggression HRE with the Minework Palace? I will say, though, if
it's been scouted out. This palace has been scouted out. So if Fight to the Death is paying attention over here, it should be fairly obvious that something is amiss.
Very interesting thing here with this Aachen Chapel. It is extremely greedy. I thought that this mining camp placement at the start was very strange. It turns out it was big brain move, because he was going to place the Aachen Chapel on this side, so he preemptively placed the mining camp. This is a very greedy but very powerful Aachen Chapel. If he is unpressured going up to castle, just like we thought he would be, then he is going to have just an amazing economy. Now, if we go back over to Monsieur Gamgee here with the Minework Palace. The Minework Palace has its issues. It doesn't allow you to get as much stuff boosted by the prelates. But if he is also doing a fast castle, then the Minework Palace allows him to enter with the Burgrave with more military upgrades on his units, which might cause him to win fights. So the question is...
It is possible that a fast castle is in order. There's a second prelate coming in, and there's a case to be made that the chapel doesn't really kick in for a little bit. It does give you a little bit of an early boost, but having more prelates does give you a little bit more flexibility of where you can send out your resources.
That is true. Now, so we are going. This is a very interesting situation. Moving the sheep towards this forward Aachen Chapel Very aggressive economic play here, but Fight to the Death, using that experience on the HRE, and hoping that his opponent doesn't overwhelm him.
2 workers being sent out. I think it's going for a fast castle with this palace just acting as upgrades. As we see here, there isn't a barracks that was being early to place down. It looks to be that this is just a way to have those upgrades that you mentioned going up, looking, no doubt, to use the Berkshire Palace later on with those cheaper upgrades to make the advantage, and no doubt a Berkshire versus Berkshire matchup.
2 walls coming in for Fight to the Death, right on the front line. Not to be outdone this time. Both scouts are alive. He actually takes out one of Monsieur Gamgee's scouts in the north, so he's going to have scout dominance here, allowing this wall to go up. Back to Monsieur Gamgee, he is picking up Wheelbarrow, a tech that is not being picked up by Fight to the Death quite yet.
Indeed, this will be a great bonus to the economic, especially with that extra gather rate. It will make a huge difference to the overall economy across all the areas. They are neck and neck in terms of resource production here, though, and those deer, though, will provide quite a bit of resources, as it looks like Gamgee over here has managed to grab a little bit more sheep. As nope, it's just that I didn't see the sheep and moved over to the deer patch.
This is a very interesting maneuver. I also Fight to the Death picking up Wheelbarrow as well. Both players getting that Wheelbarrow, that 40% bonus, bringing the carry capacity of HRE villagers from 14 to 21. Massive upgrade to their economies.
Yeah, it looks like both players will probably have a very similar time going up. The question will be, how many workers will they place on their castle age?
And what will they be going up with in their castle age as well? If both players choose the cathedral, we are in for one very interesting and long match. But as we've said from the beginning, Burgrave is a big threat here.
And I feel like with the Minework Palace, we have a clear direction of where it might go.
The Minework Palace does indeed give a inclination for the Burgrave.
And those walls might hold for a second, but if there's no blacksmith to back it up, those melee upgrades will make a world of a difference. And we have the age-up requirements for both teams, and we will no doubt see right now, we have the Cathedral coming out and the Burgrave coming out for another. This is looking pretty spicy. We have 9 versus 13 villagers on the age-up. This is quite the difference. But this could be posing quite a problem if there is no barracks to back this up.
Fight to the Death has a mindset here. His mindset is Greed City. This forward Aachen Chapel, this Regnix Cathedral, this man is going to try to get the biggest economy that he possibly can. And Monsieur Gamgee is like, I'm going to kill him so fast with this Burgrave Palace. The same strategy that's been used on him. He's bought himself a little bit of time with these walls, but he is going to have to turn this economic lead into units, and he's going to have to do it quickly. If he stops Monsieur Gamgee, he might easily pick up his first win.
No doubt, but it looks like we have Marching Joes coming in. The Burgrave is about to be finished, and we're going to have a stream of man-arms, a stable coming in. That is a bold choice, hoping that the Knights will be able to provide quite a bit of cover here. We have men-at-arms being pushed in, another mill coming out, more men-at-arms coming in too. It is going to be a stream of them that are going to be coming in here.
Absolutely. Although Monsieur Gamgee is going to need to get heavy maces and the upgrade to Castle Age Men-at-Arms, or they will be cut to pieces by the HRE Knights coming from Fight to the Death.
Indeed, we do have the upgrade coming in for this. Landsknechts could be coming in too, no doubt, to try to support everything that's coming by. It is going to be quite the aggression coming in. More men-at-arms being upgraded. It is going to be quite a dangerous. We do have Knights coming in, but that Knight, one stable, will not be able to keep up production to the same level as one Berkshire Palace, because that Burgrave Palace, because that thing is insane.
It absolutely is. However, the economic bonus from the Regnix Cathedral is going to start to mount. Monsieur Gamgee has about 3 minutes before the economic difference between them is closed. So these actions right now are going to determine the fate of this game. And here we go. Straight towards the wall. This is going to let Fight to the Death know that there is a serious problem on his doorstep.
Indeed, and with heavy maces now being upgraded, it is not going to be looking good.
Second stable coming out from Fight to the Death. He sees the problem now. He knows it. He cancels it. He's going for an archery range instead, knowing what trouble he is in. He's going to try to get crossmen in order to shut down this aggression.
This is going to be pose a problem, and the food has just run out for Sam, and this is for Gamgee right here, and we got a bit of a problem coming in about that. More men-at-arms coming on the field, no Landsknechts, and that could pose quite a bit of problem here. A knight coming to the front. The problem is that this cathedral here is out in the open. This knight is not in a good position, and it is going to take a lot of damage, and it's going to go down pretty quickly.
It looks like he's using it to buy time because behind that there is stone walls coming in. His base is actually very easily stonewalled. Even more villagers coming forward. He's panic walling as fast as he can to get as much time as he can. He's sitting on a lot of resources. He can produce the units he needs. He just needs more production buildings. And that is good because Monsieur Gamgee is sitting currently on 5 of those production buildings.
Indeed, but it looks like Gamgee is going south, looking to probably secure perhaps this relic, worried about it going down, no doubt seeing this walls, not applying the pressure with a siege workshop coming in. This could pose a bit of a problem as
Monsieur Gamgee might have been giving him a little too much time here. These two archery ranges coming in play, a siege workshop. Monsieur Gamgee's window is slowly closing to defeat Fight to the Death right now. But he is pushing this wall in the south. He's gonna try to get into this base as fast as he can, and this is the right move. He has just a few minutes. Once these crossmen show up, once these knights and crossmen are amassed, there's not much he can do. That Regenix Cathedral bringing in 600 gold a minute. There's actually a way through.
There's a hole, but looks like deciding to go for the wall instead. A lot of troops being built up. There is still a hole there. The problem is this is giving a lot of time for an army to be constructed. This could pose a little bit too much of a problem, but there is still an endless stream. A bunch of Landsknechts have been produced, and that could be quite a lot of Landsknechts coming in. That wall will go down as stone walls come down, but there is a hole in the south. There will be an entrance into this base.
One thing that Fight to Death could do right here is add ballista towers. That would be really helpful in this defense. Right now, it looks like he's going to try to do it with only infantry. I mean, he's got the eco for it right now. He has the gold, but these crossmen are trying to pick off the men-at-arms. We have an engagement in the south. Men-at-arms just running straight for the crossmen. The crossmen are a little too slow because he doesn't have the range. I'm sorry, doesn't have the movement speed upgrade, but he does pick off one men-at-arms. The 3 knights and the crossmen charging into the south. These men-at-arms don't have the Landsknechts yet. The Landsknechts are coming in from the left side. This is actually a very, very good engagement from Fight to the Death. He's able to pick off most of these men-at-arms. These are losses that Monsieur Gamgee cannot take at this moment because he needs to get this mass going up. We do have the Landsknecht army coming in, but we have a Mangonel in play, which is the answer to this Landsknecht push. Let's see if he uses it properly.
If they're not separated, it could be quite a devastating shot here, but these crossbows are running directly into it. If they're not careful, they're going to take a shot that is to devastate, but those crossbows are not moving. Neither is the army as that move command comes in, and it looks like there will be a couple swings coming in. This is looking really bad for this army of armies as they're now going to be going down. The entire army now killed. This is a bad situation to be in as Gamgee.
This is not good. Unfortunately, it looked like he did the move command there. He actually had those crossmen surrounded. If he had done the attack right when he had them completely locked in, he would have won that engagement. But 2 Mangonels now for Fight to the Death. This is now looking pretty bad for Monsieur Gamgee, at least aggressively. But back on the home front, let's take a quick look at villager count. We have 43 villagers from Fight to the Death to 41 villagers of Monsieur Gamgee, although he is eclipsed by the fact that his opponent is sitting on a bonus 400 gold a minute. But this game is not over yet. Just because he can't finish this push does not mean he is defeated.
One thing that Gamgee did get out of it, though, is one of the relics from the south of the base, which could prove to help get out that gap. If all the relics are collected and put in that monastery, it'll only be 200 down with the Birdgrave Palace, which could prove to be beneficial. This does mean that Gamgee does have the opportunity to use the relics aggressively inside the castles instead of leaving them just inside the monastery here, which could prove to be could be really beneficial in the long run here, as Fight to the Death has no incentive to take those relics out and use them in a defensive manner.
I completely agree. Two towers or a castle.
We have the army moving out, looking to do a more aggressive play. This army is powerful, but if it's going to be spotted early by an early man-at-arms here, it might be in a dangerous situation. If any of these Lancers actually make it to the front there, it could be causing white problem, and it looks like we'll have an engagement as the scout spots it. The army is now pushing in. An engagement I don't think the other player was expecting to happen, as Gamgee pulls back, realizing that the force is pushing up. More troops being produced.
He is trying to pull away from these mangonels. It is possible for this army that Monsieur Gamgee currently has to defeat the pushing army. A forward keep by Fight to the Death in order to secure this area. Monsieur Gamgee still has quite a bit of a economy behind this, and again, a few towers here would make all the difference. These relics in the monastery, they might be good, but they're nowhere as good as if this keep that is about to be thrown down right in the path actually has a relic in it. If he takes the relic out of this monastery, puts it in this keep, it'll completely shut down the aggression. The real question is, will Fight to the Death notice that Monsieur Gamgee is building this keep? Let's check some vision here.
It's currently outside the vidra.
Yeah.
This I think this castle looks, unless it moves up pretty soon, this castle looks like it's going to be going down. I don't know if the relic's going to be moved. There is a relic still out on the field that has not been claimed, which could be used. More troops coming in. This castle, though, is going to be in a good spot. It's going to also protect these deer that's going to be in place.
Looks like this is now going to transition into the mid and late game, as both players are going to need to get siege to progress. The army is moving out slowly. They are going to catch this keep before it is completely up. They could try to charge down the villagers and stop it, but they would have to do it right now. Looking at the selected player, he sees the keep. He sees the enemy forces. He's charging the villagers, but it's not quite fast enough, and the units are going to pull back. Monsieur Gamgee.
That castle down, it is going to cause us to go down to a much slower game, as some of those crossbows are not going to make out of it, being in formation with those mangonels. This is looking like it's going to turn into a little bit more of a siege fest, as we see a bunch of stone walls coming down, no doubt to get it a little bit more defensive. Men-at-arms in the back, trying to figure out, it will spot the keep, giving vision of what's happening around here. More stone coming out. It looks like...
Oh, you go.
Yeah, Fight to Death looks like planning on going up to the Imperial Age, as Gamgee trying to make sure that everything is going well. Upgrades coming in, stone walls coming through. This could prove to be a bad situation, as the Imperial Age building does come down. It looks like it will be the Palace of Suave. Trying to get that economically ahead, as the villagers, there's a fight going down as knights come in to kill all of those villagers. Not all of them will make it out, though.
That second knight might get picked. 3 knights, yes.
It looks as if, I don't know how many, it looks like 2 villagers, maybe 1 villager goes down.
This Palace of Suave play is definitely going to give Fight to the Death the advantage here in time. But like everything he's been doing, he's been playing very greedy, and this goes straight into that game plan. Monsieur Gamgee is going to be forced to either add a second town center or go up to the Imperial Age within the next 3 minutes, because that worker difference between them is going to get so large that the raw economy of Fight to the Death is going to be able to overwhelm him.
Indeed, that relic would come in real handy if trying to protect anything that would be pushing forward, but we now see a bunch of workers queued up, trying to get that early lead of economics in. The economics itself, though, are somewhat even overall, but a lot more food for Fight to Death, as that the chapel there providing that AoE bonus to all those farms, and not enough prelates to be pushed around to all the farm locations. Just the transition now coming in for Gamgee to provide the food needed, as free reign of all of the deer have caused it to not be entirely necessary up until this point. More mangonels coming in, no doubt trying to siege, and a lot more crossbows and knights coming in, some archers coming in being queued up, a whole slew of troops being queued to fight.
Interesting positioning for Fight to the Death's army here, being outside the walls, pinned with no way to retreat. You would almost wonder if Monsieur Gamgee takes his army right now, slams it against the army of Fight to the Death, if he would win. I think in this case he would actually be able to overwhelm.
Absolutely, the biggest problem that Fight to the Death currently has is there's no blacksmith. All of the upgrades are on Gamgee's troops, and there's not a single upgrade on any of these troops other than being promoted to the higher level. That can prove and make a huge difference in this army composition.
That's a very good point here. The fact that he has this bigger economy, he doesn't have a blacksmith quite yet, and he doesn't seem to be putting one down. This could really create a problem if this goes into a grind fest, because as you said, Monsieur Gamgee has every single upgrade for these troops, including military academies.
Indeed, this could pose quite a big problem, and it looks like the army is slowly being blessed too. Just as the army moves out on the side, it looks like the knights are flanking. This could prove quite the big problem, as Gamgee has no vision. Right now. And all these knights are going to find the economy, which is going to prove quite a bit of a problem, as no walls are placed on that northern side, and this is going to cause the army to have to respond as it begins to move out. Form a level of harassment that is not present, as no walls or any form of alert system has been placed on that upper side, leaving completely vulnerable. But knights are not going to cut it versus army, as they are just going to run away. A cannon coming in, looking to no doubt push down those knights, not surviving very long versus everything that's around there. No doubt looking to distract and probably push if they can. That cannon, though, is going to take a while to get to the front.
And we also have hand cannoneers coming in for Fight to the Death. His plan, very clear, use the tech advantage, use the economic advantage to overpower his opponents. Monsieur Gamgee is going to have to be efficient with his army here in order to win these engagements. He is going to be out-teched, he is probably going to be outnumbered, but his units are going to have the class they need with the upgrades, the armor, the weapons, the movement speed, much more than Fight to the Death. So this battle here, when this cannon rolls through this door that's going to occur, is going to be very interesting. Cannon trying to get through the door, it just can't because the mangonel is just body blocking it.
It is having great difficulty. The wall coming down with the keep, learning from the past mistake to set up a level of defense to prevent anything crazy from happening like last time.
The worker count between the two now, however, is massive. It is now 82 to 52. And here comes the assault. Moving to the north. Cannon coming with the army. Army's left flank a little exposed. They're moving very close to these melee units. Monsieur Gamgee seems to be trying to pull back. Double mangonel shots straight onto the crossmen. Melee units coming from inside the forest. These are Lanchnecks just collapsing onto these range units, tearing them to pieces. Lanchnecks pulling back, going straight for the cannon. Mangonels are trying to get the hell out of there. Army is left to its fate, pinned between the wall, the castle, and the Lanchnecks from the forest. Very good deflection by Monsieur Gamgee, putting his opponent on the back foot, buying him yet more time to try to win this game.
Indeed, that was a huge loss of resources and troops, trying to replace it with hand cannoneers, but those hand cannoneers will only be good if they can be protected. If those Lanchnecks make it to that will be a huge loss and a really great trade. It looks like the defensive palace is coming down, providing quite a bit of defense needed for this front. Gamgee here, though, needs some level of siege to begin taking advantage of the fact that that whole army was just killed and no siege is coming out, which could pose quite a bit of problem, as early pressure here would be really strong. We do have a lot of production buildings being placed down to provide some level of defense. The university is down, no doubt looking to try to grab those elite army tactics, as Gamgee is still fighting from an age below, a scout hiding in the corner of the base.
Monsieur Gamgee is still in a rough spot here because he's going to have to play micro heavy. He's going to have to get good trades. That is his specialty, however. Micro heavy, really looking for positive unit trades, keeping the army size in his favor. That is the way he likes to play. He goes and destroys that scout that you had just mentioned. Coming back to the front here, the Azbek Palace is reinforcing his game style. He is down by almost 40 villagers right now, but he is going to again play the age-old adage of quality over quantity.
As long as no blacksmiths coming in for Fight to the Death, it is in the advantage of Gamgee, and it looks like a relic is being taken to place inside the palace, giving it quite a deadly centerpiece to this defense.
Exactly. If this thing is going to need to get the emplacements though, in order to be maximum effectiveness. That is, I need to be maximum effectiveness with my sentence structure. But for now,
Gamgee doesn't see it. Gamgee does not see that relic hiding in the north. The vision just out of view. No wonder why it hasn't been picked up.
That makes a lot of sense. Alright, let's watch if this palace does get the cannon emplacements as of this moment. It doesn't seem to be buying them yet, but that's partially because he just doesn't have the stone to afford it. University coming in. Now, we are in a very interesting situation. His economy is, however, significantly worse than Fight to the Death.
Yeah, indeed, but we do have reinforced defense coming in. That economy, though, doesn't make much of a difference in this case. The blacksmith finally coming out.
Double blacksmith.
Double blacksmith, realizing, no doubt, that there are no upgrades for those troops and desperately needing them. Elite army tactics coming in. It looks like a force is starting to be produced once again to try to push on it. That palace, though, is going to provide quite a dangerous piece if it's not dealt with. The walls, though, not complete, and stone wall towers being constructed.
It looks like both sides are starting to mass Landsknecks. If we have a giant Landsknecht battle, it'll be the fastest engagement in the history of Age of Empires. They are going to shred each other to pieces.
It will make all the world of difference here. The money coming in, will we see elite army tactics being picked up? It would be quite a beneficial upgrade and will now make or break the difference as all of these military army upgrades coming in. We do have a cannon coming in now for the palace, giving it a much needed defensive power increase. More cannons being constructed, but with that defensive upgrade, it's going to be quite difficult breaking through, and the sacred site finally being captured.
The question is, does Fight to the Death? No. He might not. The vision's a little weird, but I don't think he knows about the Avak Palace there. He might assume that the person went Palace of Swabi. And one of the things here is Monsieur Gamgee had the ability to break through that fortification in the last push, but he just didn't have the units. And the longer this goes on, the more powerful his economy will get, because the closer the numbers will become. But if he gets into a grind fest with Fight to the Death, it's not going to go well for him. He's going to have to keep taking those intelligent engagements. So far, he has been able to do that, and so far, Fight to the Death not feeling confident with his army size quite yet.
No, and without all of those upgrades, it is too much of a dangerous proposition to even go in right now. It is in the favor still of Gamgee, as army upgrades are going to be very important, though. It looks like, though, the money is the biggest problem Gamgee has in terms of it. There it is. Elite army tactics coming in, a much-needed upgrade for any future engagements.
Absolutely.
We do have a bombard now being produced for Gamgee, and the addition of greased axles to give it a little bit more movement speed and traversing across the field. That relic still unclaimed. The southern wall not constructed, which could pose quite a bit of a problem if not fully completed, at a very dangerous point to try to flank around. Elite man-at-arms coming in an upgrade.
How are we on elite? We do not have elite Landsknecks quite yet because, again, his food is in a very bad place. He's been doing this with 1 TC the entire time, no second TC, which has really been, again, the economic problem he's been facing. One thing to note, though, is that we do have boiling oil in place. All of these keeps have almost every single defensive upgrade, and they are protected by the Azbak Palace. One thing to note, though, is they are not within the influence of a town center, which means that they are not going to be able to emergency repair when they come under threat. That change might mean that he can break through, but once again, we're going to have to mass up quite the army. And one thing to note here, if Fight to the Death doesn't know about the Azbak Palace, then he is building the wrong type of siege, because the only siege that can push through that safely are Trebs.
I think if I was in Gamgee's case here, I would move all of my relics to all 3 castles here in the front to provide the most powerful defense you could. If all of these keeps all had relics in them, it would be extremely dangerous to try to push it with bombards.
That is the case, and as you can see, the tech that gives extra resources for relics garrisoned in monastery, that's how it reads. It actually gives that extra resources for relics garrisoned anywhere.
Oh, and the troops are moving out, no doubt not in vision range of Gamgee, nor does Fight the Death realize that that's going to be there. The cannons, no doubt, going to start the fight by trying to break down the wall or the other siege the other castle over here.
And it looks like he is pushing to the north. He's accidentally dodging this palace, but when the troops move north, the Azbek Palace is going to end up pushing him.
Culverin coming out, a fantastic choice, as since there is no Culverin from the other side.
Yes, there is. Culverin is hiding underneath that tower.
Oh, it is. It's hiding the corner, but it is not in position, and the palace has been seen.
The knights just going in.
They are out of position. They are going to take a lot of damage. These knights are not going to survive very long.
Massive Lanchnet clash right in the middle of the field, just shredding the crap out of each other.
That is not a good fight there. The Lanchniks have to retreat. That palace putting in massive work. The troops not surviving it, sitting in the middle of all these castles. This is a bad spot to be. The siege is collapsing. Gamgee here is now pushing up with the troops. There's not much left of the troops themselves, but there's not much siege to push with either, as that palace there is going to be able to shoot all of those bombards. I think before the bombards are moving forward, they are too close. They're going to start taking fire.
He's just committing. He is committing to this attack. He is going to try to kill as much as he can. He's repairing it with villagers, but these forts are shredding these units in this massive choke point.
While both armies completely decimated each other, it could not break through that palace. That palace is way too strong, and without trebuchets, it was not going to happen.
Well, now Fight to the Death knows what he's up against. He knows the situation. There are castles on every single side. So the question is, how does he react to this new information? Those knights trying to go for that siege were just decimated in the town center being built close to the Azbek Palace for those emergency repairs.
It is going to come in really big handy, and trying to make sure that economy gets up a little bit more, because Gamgee still behind on those civilians. It will make a difference. These workers are moving on the map. The relic is no doubtly visible now to Gamgee, though attention's probably driven to all other parts of this map currently.
Absolutely. One thing to note, though, for Fight to the Death is he does not have the range defense upgrades. That is a huge problem if he plans on pushing again into this bottleneck, because these castles with all of their arrows need to be negated by that range armor.
The biggest other problem is that all of Gamgee troops are currently being blessed by a prelate, giving them even more of an edge over their opponents.
But once again, we do have to mention the fact, Fight to the Death sitting on a lot of income. His gold is at 2,000 per minute. It is 400 above Monsieur Gamgee. Even though his units are getting blessed, and I really do think that blessing is going to make one huge difference. Even though his units are getting blessed, his economy still allows him to build a lot more units, and the real question here is, how is Monsieur Gamgee going to push? If Fight to the Death decides, I don't want to fight this anymore, I'm going to stay in my base for the next 10 minutes, line these walls with hand cannoneers, what are the options that Monsieur Gamgee has? His army is very melee focused. He does not have any other things besides siege and barracks. He's going to have a very tough time pushing defensive hand cannoneers.
Indeed, but We do have trade coming out, which will make a big difference. Trade now also coming down, planning for Fight to Death as both players gear up for quite a bit of a fight coming in.
One issue, though, is that this prelate blessing, these infantry are not able to bless all of them. There is too much infantry, and they are timing out before the blessings are complete. He's going to need a lot more monks if he wants to have this be an effective strategy.
Indeed, it looks like we have a lot more land strikes coming out. It looks like the plan is to produce a bunch of knights, hoping to push through, no doubt realizing that if the knights can make it all the way through into the base, it will provide enough damage to cause, well, a killing blow. Without those walls being repaired, Gamgee is in a tight spot if those knights make it all the way through.
That is definitely the case. The knights could just be going for a blitz. If those knights are going to charge down the Landsknechts again, one thing that we've known from testing is that French knights, fully upgraded, cannot stand up against elite Landsknechts. Holy Roman Empire knights will fare no better against a massed army of Landsknechts. He is going to need a different solution for those, and I think the solution is the Mangonels. Mangonels will shred Landsknechts to pieces because they are light infantry and they have very little HP. Landsknechts have 114 HP. If I'm correct, I believe hand cannoneers have more HP than Landsknechts do. But a Treb coming out from Monsieur Gamgee, he is going to take the fight to the death.
It looks like the right move here will force a reaction out of Fight to the Death, as it is necessary, and it cannot allow that trebuchet to stick around. A spreading formation coming out, really good choice here. Everything firing, everything going in. The kill box is active as the knights try to circle around. It is an engagement that is not looking at the knights, just going to run for the back line. Realizing there's a hole. The cannons trying to move forward, the culverin firing at the siege, the knights themselves getting caught up in all the defense, going for the front lines for both sides collapsing very quickly, very heavily. This
Monsieur Gamgee, his army has been split up. The main line completely gone. The siege, although in the kill box, just being unmolested by any of these incoming fire. The units are chasing down the knights, but the knights are all in the back line. He didn't plan to try to win this in this push. He was just trying to go for that economy. These castles will survive. These castles have the defense they need, but his economy is going to take a massive hit by these knights right here.
These Mangonels, though, moving forward, realizing they could take a shot at the guild liners, but they're not going to live long enough to actually kill them. The biggest problem is these knights in the back line causing havoc, causing destruction. There's no defenses in the back, but the biggest problem here is that palace there, preventing knights from going down the center. As more siege goes down, these bombards moving out and are going to go down as they move too close to the Berkshire Palace. The Asbeeling Palace.
That last bombard missed somehow, landing on the ground.
It looks though there's havoc still happening in the background as villagers are running. The palace, though, still providing powerful defense. These knights, while effective, are constantly zoned out by these two castles here, losing and taking a lot of attrition trying to go for damage.
That boiling oil is doing a ton of work, providing massive damage. We have Monsieur Gamgee charging straight for the siege. Landsknecht fight right in the middle once again, just absolutely shredding each other to pieces. But there are so many units pouring in here from Fight to the Death. He's leveraging that economy he has been working on here for the last almost 40 minutes, and he is going to try to just overwhelm his opponent, who does have more upgrades on his units, who does have more defenses. He is just going to try to push through them. Casualties be damned. I'm going to get through this barricade.
Indeed, there's no range upgrade coming in for these castles, so while there is no range defense, there is no range offense to take advantage of that lack of defense. These hand cannoneers focusing down the palace, these villagers trying to put down another castle. Everything here is having trouble. This palace is not going to be taken down so quickly by one bombard. It is just endless attrition happening all over the place as these infantry try to run around harassing. Gamgee has a problem in the base. A forward keep being placed down to provide that. It is in the range, though, of this palace, as the villagers themselves are going to be slowly picked off. It is going to make this castle placement really difficult to have.
Indeed.
Many of the
Monsieur Gamgee pulled back here. He does have a keep going up, but this scenario, economically, has completely fallen apart for him. Fight to the death, 100 villagers. Monsieur Gamgee is at 78, but his trade is shut down. Most of his gold mines are now under threat. He's spam building castles in the back to try to give himself as much space as he possibly can. That palace still cutting down so many of Fight to the Death's units, but the palace
is going down.
Goes down.
Enough bombards have been placed on it. This is looking really bad for Gamgee. I don't know. I don't see a good way out of this. It's being really difficult without space to control these knights being able to float into the base. The palace trying to be reconstructed, but it is not going to be long with these 3 bombards on the front and nothing to take care of that castle. It is a bad position for it. The other castle in the north going down by a trebuchet, leaving that north side completely broken. It is not looking for Gamgee, and resources are running thin as there is no more gold coming in, enough gold to supply this army. Food is plenty, but everything else is in struggle.
Monsieur Gamgee may be able, he calls GG. He calls GG. What a match.